guys, welcome back to the new videos of Coding Pie. Today I am going to show you that how you can build machine learning web application that predict price of the diamond. This is project 15 out of 50 plus AI project series, and trust me guys, this is going to be super fun, easy and practical, where I used to explain each line of code in detail. And guys, it's a request that if you were new to our YouTube channel, then please hit subscribe button. This will motivate us and push me to work on this AI project playlist. So quickly install all the required libraries which is necessary for this project, which include Gradio and Pandas. And here as you can see, some of the files are already installed, so it says requirement already satisfied. Then quickly I used to move on to the next step, where I used to import all the important libraries which is used for data handling, pre-processing and modeling, and for web application. And here as you can see, first I used to import Pandas as PD, which is used for data ingestion and as well as their manipulation. Next, from scikit-learn.model_selection, I used to import train_test_split function. This function is used to split dataset into train dataset and test dataset. And this function is very important to prevent data from leakage. Then from scikit-learn.preprocessing, I used to import standard scaler and ordinal encoder. And if we gonna talk about standard scaler, which is a pre-processing tool used in machine learning to normalize the numerical feature. It ensures that each feature column has mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1. It means that standard scaler does not scale the values directly into the range of 0 and 1. Now next is ordinal encoder, which is used to convert categorical values into numerical representation. It will assign unique integer to each category in a feature column. And this is very important because ML model only understand number instead of features. Next, from scikit-learn.compose, I used to import column transformer. This class will help to combine multiple pre-processing steps together. Next, from scikit-learn.pipeline, I used to import pipeline. This will automate the process of data transformation and model training. And this will ensure that data get cleaned, converted and trained in a single streamlined operation. Next, from scikit-learn.ensemble, I used to import random forest regressor, which is a powerful machine learning model that make prediction with the usage of multiple decision tree. And finally, I used to import Gradio as GR, which allow us to turn ML model into web application instantly. Now after running the code, I will quickly move on to the next step, where I used to load dataset. Now here as you can see, first I used to import files from google.colab. Then with the usage of file.upload function, I used to upload dataset to Google Colab and store it to the uploaded variable. Next, with the usage of pd.read_csv, where I used to put diamond.csv file. This line of code is used to load dataset from Google Colab and convert it into a data frame. Then whatever value that comes after it, it will be stored in data variable. Next, with the usage of data.head function, I used to display the top 5 rows of the dataset. And finally here as you can see, the different features of the dataset, which include caret, cut, color, clarity, depth, table and size. These are called feature column, which is required to predict the price of the diamond. Now quickly I move on to the next step, where I used to prepare target variable as well as feature variable. So with the usage of data.drop function, where I used to pass price, access is equal to 1, I used to remove price column from dataset and keeping only the input features. And here access is equal to 1 specify that column wise removal should take place. And whatever value that comes after it, it is to be stored in X variable. Next, data with index price, I used to filter dot price column, which is our target feature, and it is to be stored in Y variable. Next, from feature variable, I used to separate out categorical column and numerical column. So with the usage of x.select_data types, where I used to pass object under the round bracket dot columns. This line of code is used to filter dot categorical column from feature variable, and then whatever features that comes from it is to be stored in categorical_calls variable. Next, with the usage of x.select_data types, where I used to pass float, int inside the list under the round bracket dot columns. This line of code is used to extract numerical features from feature variable. Then whatever value that comes after it, it is to be stored in numerical_calls variable. The identification of categorical and numerical column is important in order to perform encoding on top of categorical features and scaling on top of numerical features. Now quickly I move on to the next step, where I used to create pre-processing pipeline. And here as you can see, with the usage of column transformer class, where I used to pass list of operation on top of feature data. So as you can see here that standard scalar is going to be performed on top of numerical columns, which are used to normalize the data of numerical columns and makes the value centered around 0 with standard deviation 1. Next is ordinal encoder, which is going to be performed on top of categorical feature columns. And as I said earlier that it will transform categorical data into numerical labels. And finally this pre-processing pipeline is going to be stored in preprocessor variable. Now quickly I move on to the next step where I used to build full pipeline with model. And here as you can see, with the usage of pipeline, which is a tool in scikit-learn that automate the machine learning workflow. Now inside the round bracket, where I used to mention the list of steps, where I used to mention preprocessor as preprocessor and regressor as random forest regressor. And finally the pipeline will chain together the pre-processing step and the model into a single structure. This line of code ensures that data transformation and model training happens in single executions. Now quickly I move on to the next step where I used to train the model exactly. So for this, first I used to split the dataset into train dataset and test dataset with the usage of train_test_split function. Here I used to pass feature variable as x, target variable as y, test_size is equal to 0.02, which represent test data would be 20%. Then in order to get rid of shuffling, I used to pass random_state is equal to 32, and whatever value that comes after it, it is to be stored in their corresponding variable, which include x_train, x_test, y_train, y_test. Now quickly I used to fit the model on top of x_train data and y_train data. The usage of model.fit function, where I used to pass x_train, y_train variable. After running the code, finally here as you can see the machine learning flowchart which represent the pipeline, and inside that there is a processor that perform column transformation with the usage of standard scalar and ordinal encoder on top of numerical as well as categorical features. And finally there is a random forest regressor, which is to be trained on top of numerical and categorical encoded features. Now quickly I move on to the next step where I used to define prediction function for Gradio. This function is quite important in order to predict the output based on several features. So with the usage of def keyword, I used to define a function called predict, where I used to pass all feature column as parameter. Then I used to map the list of feature variable with the usage of dictionary, and then I used to convert it into a data frame with the usage of pd.dataframe function. I used to store it input_data variable. Next, with the usage of model.predict function, where I used to pass input_data with index 0. This line of code is used to call trained machine learning model, that is random forest regressor, to predict the output based on input data. And whatever value that comes after it, it is to be stored in prediction variable. Next, in return statement with the usage of fstring, I used to call prediction variable along with round function inside the curly braces. Round function will round off the prediction value up to 2 decimal point. Now quickly I move on to the next step where I used to create user interface with the usage of Gradio. And here as you can see, first I used to define a variable called interface. Then with the usage of gr.interface class, I used to create an interactive web application using Gradio. Next, inside the class, I used to define a variable called fn, where I used to call predict function. Then I used to define another variable, that is input, where I used to pass list of slider and radio as per as categorical and numerical input features. Next, I used to define output as variable, where I pass text. And finally, I used to define title of this project, that is diamond price predictor. And then with the usage of interface.launch function, I used to deploy the code on Gradio. And as soon as I run the code, I will get the public URL, and after clicking on it, I will redirect to the public user interface. Now quickly fill up all the details and click on submit button. And as soon as you will click on submit, you will get the predicted result. So this is how you can build machine learning web application that predict the price of the diamond. I hope this video is informative. Please do like, share and subscribe for more upcoming projects.